You know what's funny for everyone who only listens to this is every week I wave at the camera, but I also do a little fade in from the logo. So I realize that I wave to the camera for no reason. I'm basically waving to myself. Hi Lee, how you doing, Lee? I'm doing okay. How are you doing? I'm doing pretty great. Thank you for asking. What I want, what I would love, I'm gonna start a new. You know how like all the like we have Patreon and OnlyFans and Pornhub and I don't know where else do people make money. You know all those things. I want to start one where anyone who makes any sort of content online, you get to see all the times they stop and restart the shot, because I know that would be much more entertaining than anything I ever put out. I could win an Oscar. It'll never happen, but I could win an Oscar, and it would still be funnier to see me restart and start again and then start again and then also start again on all of these intros. Every single one. Just, hi, good morning, welcome to... No, I don't like that one. Hi, hey guys. I don't know why I'm saying guys. Who invented hey guys for online content? Why can't we just start? Why is everyone so awkward? Why am I so awkward? I don't know. You're not paying at all. Well, but you're not listening to figure that out. A therapist, a team of mental health professionals will work the rest of their lives to figure out why I am the way I am. But you know what? I wanted to first of all welcome you to the What Was I Thinking podcast. I am Lee Syatt. I am weird. Pretty much. My parents, the reason this podcast is named What Was I Thinking is because I hear my parents say it constantly. What were we thinking? Why didn't we just leave them in the woods? Sparta style. Just leave them on a cliff. We would have had so much more money right now. Or we would have been in Italy. I swear to God, my parents every day. Why did we let you survive? If they ever see this is how I know they don't watch, because if they did see this, both of them would team up and murder me, because they're like, now people think we're terrible parents. Well, why did I hear you say that? How come I heard you say, why did you teach them how to swim? Huh? See, this is another one I should cut out, but I'm not going to. I'm gonna start. This is the start of online people being embarrassed by their failures. Because I'm not an artist. B, the word creator sound. I'm talking into a microphone and a webcam. Come on. Michelangelo was a creator. Picasso, creator. That's pretty much it. I went to art school, and those are the artists I could come up with. That's all of the artists. I, for the last decade, have gotten high on the internet for a living, and that's pretty much it. That's all. That is what I have to. I'm turning 33 in July, and I have to show for it hours and hours, like probably multiple days. God. So let's see, 800 episodes, 800 divided by 20. We might have almost a week. There could be a week of me being high on the internet. I should do a week-long marathon of all of my content and then die out of embarrassment and exhaustion. But it'd be funny. You got a lot of likes on YouTube. Speaking of YouTube, this show is now available on YouTube, youtube.com/Lee Syatt. And I have a favor to ask you. If you could check out my other podcast, the Waistline Podcast. Tomorrow's a big day, and if you're listening to this any other day but the day it comes out, it's already been a big day, so you're late, but I'll forgive it if you do me a favor. I have Obese to Beast, Mr. John Glod, on my Waistline Podcast this week, And it's an amazing, honestly, one of my favorite podcasts that I've ever done. And it would mean a lot to me if you checked it out. And honestly, any episode of The Waistline, because it's one of the favorite things that I'm doing right now. I love you guys, and I love this, but I was talking with a comedian the other day, and I was talking about how when I was doing comedy, and hopefully I'll be doing it again soon, you never know, that I felt a pressure not to do fat material because people look down on it. Other comedians, like then you're the fat comic. The problem is I've just been fat. I've been fat more than I've been almost anything. The only thing I've been more than being fat is a man. No, not even a male gender, and that's it. I've been fat the rest of the time. So I know a lot about it. I'm pretty much an expert on being fat, and I don't want to be. This is not. I don't know which is worse, being fat or being high on the internet for a living. Probably being fat. Yeah, no one would choose that. No, I don't think anyone would choose that, but it happened. It's there. It's still here. It's less. Now I'm getting closer to like just a regular fat person, as opposed to, wow, he might die today person. But I know a lot about it, and I am in the process of losing it. And I've been with all the people that I've spoken to for The Waistline recently. It showed me how similar we all are. Obviously, a lot of bigger people I'm talking about right now, but even if you aren't big, you might have another issue that makes you self-conscious or you're unhappy with about yourself. And that's what The Waistline's about. The Waistline is I'm trying to build a community. And it would just mean a lot if you guys went and checked it out. So what I wanted to do, I have a great guest today, Mr. Doon. I have a great guest. You know Rye from Vine. You know him from YouTube. You know him from the Sorry Dad podcast, R.I.P. But what I wanted to do before I get to Mr. Doon is give you an update on me, because maybe this is your first time watching or listening to this podcast. I left LA in August of 2020. And after almost a decade of being in LA. And it's an intense thing. It reminded me a lot of leaving to LA, because when I left Boston, similar sort of thing. I graduated college, and I think within under a month, I'll say honestly, I think within 2 weeks, but I'll say definitely under a month of being done with school, I was in a car that I bought, driving cross country to LA. No place to live. I had a job lined up, but it was fine. It's not a knock on them. Honestly, it's a job for my first job out of college. I wasn't making a ton of money, and I was starting my life. And I worked in reality TV. I met Joey. I met Steve Simone. I did over 1,000 podcasts over 9.5 years. And even less, I guess, because I really only podcasted for 8. So, yeah, I did over 1,000 podcasts. And then COVID happened. And it's weird because obviously way too many people lost their lives, whether that was actual physical lives or because of the pandemic, people have lost their livelihoods. And technically I'm one of them. Technically I should be inconsolable. You would think. I went from one of the biggest podcasts in comedy. Not obviously not top 10, but we were consistently in the top 30, top 40. And I had talked to Joey probably over 9 years. I probably had talked to him 6.5 out of 7 days. There were a very few times we didn't talk. And I saw him at least twice a week for that entire time, usually more. And I had Steve Simone. I had all my new buddies at stand-up. Stand-up was going. I wasn't really making money at it, but it was the first thing that I really enjoyed doing in a while. I was just starting my third year of stand-up. I had opened for Joey at the Wilbur Theater. Still probably my best night in comedy. I had opened for Steve at the House of Comedy in Arizona. I had done shows with Sam Tripoli. I'm not gonna say I opened for Joe Rogan, but they put me on a show at the Sycamore Tavern that Joe Rogan was going on last. So, you know, semantics. I had been on the Joe Rogan Experience many years ago. I had got to travel the country a little bit. I guess technically internationally, I went to Toronto with Steve. I had built a little life for me in LA. And then probably it was either late June or early July, I think, that I found out that the show was ending. That Joey was moving to New Jersey, and we decided that, I'll get to this in a minute, I guess. The show was ending, and I was going to be leaving it. It wasn't even a question, not even for a minute, did I consider staying in LA. With all that stuff that I just said, there wasn't it wasn't even at all an option. It could have been. I could still be there right now. I probably would have been editing reality TV again. Maybe working nights. I would have had to start over a little bit, but I think I would have remembered what how to do it pretty quickly. But it wasn't even a discussion. I don't know who I would discuss it with. It was with myself. To me, it wasn't an option. When I said earlier I should be inconsolable, I said that because I'm actually happier than I've been in years, in a weird way. And there's a lot of unknowns right now. A lot of unknowns. But I this is not where I thought my life would be. I'm almost 30. I'll be 33 in 2 months. And right? No, sorry, 3 months. And I can do math. I know when my birthday is. I'm living with my parents. I very much enjoy it. I only got to see them maybe once or twice a year for at most a week, for almost a decade. And I very much do enjoy spending time with right now I'm with my mom. I spent 2 months with my dad. But it's not there's no option right now for me to live anywhere else. And like I said this, I don't know if I said it on the podcast or not, but it's funny, but it's true that I am doing a lot better financially right now. I only lost $400 last month. That's it. I only lost $400. And with all that, with leaving LA, with living with my parents, with starting over at 32, I feel great. I really do. I mean, I'm down. The weight has a part of it. And it's weird because I was never. No, I don't think anyone who is happy that they're fat at all. Some people have accepted it, and some people, I don't know. Maybe there are some people who enjoy being big. I didn't. I enjoyed the food. I enjoyed eating and the taste and 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 all of that. But the outcome I did not like. I didn't like not fitting into clothes or not liking how I looked on camera or in pictures or not having the self confidence to go out and date at all. I didn't like any of that. So losing 65 pounds or 64.2, to be exact, helped a lot. That's giving me my self confidence back. But I I'm learning to enjoy the process of the process, I guess. I've never enjoyed the ride. It's something that is a huge struggle for me. When I was um when I was growing up, I would tell my mom that like I was like if as soon as my half birthday passed, I'd go, I'm closer. Like when I was 9 and gonna turn 10, I would say I'm closer to 10 than I am 9. I always looked ahead. There's a joke in my family that all I ever wanted was to have a job, a car, and an apartment. I was just so ready to be an adult. And I had all of those things. And now I have one of those things. um, but what I'm learning to do now is embrace the weight, I guess. And not that's like a double. Um, I've been doing this podcast since November, I think. Late October, early November. I just started the Wasteland podcast. And I've been doing podcast consulting. I've been doing my Patreon. And my YouTube is starting to get going. And the results are nowhere near there at all. But it's like when you start all my examples are food based. You know when you can start smelling the food in the oven, and you get so excited because like, oh, I can smell the cookies, I can smell them now. But then you look at the timer on your phone, and you're like, ooh, there's still like 15-20 minutes left. I could pull them out now, I guess, but they'd be real hot and I might get salmonella poisoning. So you gotta wait. You gotta wait till the timer goes off. And I can smell that I'm on the right path. The cookies are out there, and I'm headed in the right direction. Why am I always based on cookies? I haven't had cookies in a long time. The problem with me before was that there is no timer. I don't have a map, I don't have a map to follow that says do this, this, and this, and then boom, you're a success. But this is the first time, because I started podcasts before in LA, that I can do them. I'm doing 2 podcasts a week that I'm putting out. I'm doing a lot more than that. Getting stuff rolling with content. And I haven't missed a week, and I don't plan on it. And the consulting is going great. I have a lot of fun with everyone who does that. But I'm doing more. I'm actually The day this comes out, I'm looking at a little office. Like I said, I lost $400 last month. Um, but I need a little bit more. One of the things, and I'll have him on. I know Theo. I hope this isn't crossing any boundaries. But Theo mentioned me on Joey's podcast a few weeks ago, and I remember one of the times he came on when he was just starting to do really well, and we were talking about if he should get an office. It was more of he was talking with Joey, and I was there stoned out of my mind. But I was involved in it. He didn't ignore me. Theo was always great to me, but I remember that he was unsure, and he was going back and forth, and obviously you saw that he made the decision to do it, and obviously he's a very hard worker and extremely funny and talented. Having an office wasn't the thing that made him, but I think in putting that investment might have inspired him to work a little harder, because I'm working extremely hard right now. I'm exhausted at the end of the day. But there's still more that I could do and should be doing. So thank you very much for being on this with me. If you haven't checked out my YouTube, I don't obviously if the number of subscribers went up, that'd be awesome. But just check in on me. I have people that I don't subscribe to, but I check in on them every couple of weeks. I have a lot of stuff that I have planned. I do this thing on my Patreon called a mastermind. I did not invent it at all, but it's one of the best things that I do on there, and just in my life. And it's something that we all get together once a month and give each other ideas and talk about what we're working on and how we're going to improve on it next month. So I'm going to start doing those for podcasters. I have a bunch of content, video, YouTube ideas that I'm going to start doing for you. And I think it'd be great for me to have an office. And just to make sure I stay on track, because I have to pay that bill every month. And I have somewhere to go, and I need to start, even though I don't have technically an office job, I need to go to an office. I need to go, so I shouldn't be in gym shorts and a polo shirt so I look fancy, gym shorts because it's comfy. I should be going somewhere every day and putting in a good continuous work day. So all of that is just culminating me being super happy. And then what I was going to say earlier is, and a lot of people, I think your heart was in the right place, but it's just, you didn't know the full, you got, people assume things, and they say, oh, maybe you should move to Jersey, or why didn't Joey take you? Or I told Joey from the very beginning that when he told me he was moving to Jersey, I said, listen, I would do anything for you. But what I care most about, and I think he would agree, and I don't think I'm telling anything out of place, is I said to him multiple times, I said, listen, all I care about is that we're okay. And if I would hate to move to Jersey and us get into a fight, or the podcast go downhill, or I don't like New Jersey, or whatever. And we came to the decision that the podcast was honestly the perfect time to end it. And we speak almost every day still. We still talk 4 to 5 times a week at least. And honestly, I think our relationship is better now than it was in LA. I think we're both happier now. I think the pressure of working together is gone, so now we can just be friends. He's doing great. I feel like I'm doing great. Mike Klein, One by One Podcast, is doing a fantastic, amazing job on all the things that Joey's doing. And why did I say that? I am truly happier than I've been in a long time. And it's not like I'm not like waking up every day like skipping in the sunshine, but the way that antidepressants have been described to me is that it just evens everything out. Like, you're not too high and not too low. And a lot of times, and even in this discussion, I think, no, maybe not, but a lot of times that's with a negative connotation. The way I feel right now is that I'm like on a natural antidepressant. That I feel good. I feel very zen at the moment. I have bad days and I have good days and I have busy days and slow days. I feel like I'm in Sesame Street. But and I know I'm really trying to look at the camera, but I think when I just kind of stare off into space. I'm sorry. I'm getting used to this YouTube stuff. I need to put like a little sticker there to make sure I look at it. But I genuinely feel pretty awesome. Not too high, not too low. I just feel like a normal person. And I wanted to thank you for that. All of you for listening and sticking with me. And I know some of you will find other podcasts and other people. But for those of you who stick around and those of you who come on, thank you. And if you're coming on for Rye today and you have no idea who I am, might not be the intro for you. I apologize. But this is what it's gonna be. Maybe I should have done this as the outro, but who cares? It's my podcast. I do also want to thank you for the support I got last week on our first sponsor, Manscaped. It was outrageous. Thank you for liking what I did. And thank you to Manscaped for supporting this podcast, because this podcast is brought to you by Manscaped. See? Look at that. I'm like a professional broadcaster now. Manscaped is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They obsess over their technology development to provide you the best tools for your grooming experience. Manscaped, that's MANSCAPED, is trusted by over 2 million men worldwide. That's 4 million balls, give or take. We have an exclusive offer for my listeners. You get 20% off plus free shipping with code Syatt, SYATT, at manscaped.com. They're great. They're fantastic. Listen, I told you I'm losing weight. I told you that. I'm on some dating apps. I'm talking to some lovely ladies. And some of them have even expressed interest in seeing me naked, which is outrageous and wild. And thank you. But it's been a long pandemic. It's been a long, dark winter. Like I said, sometimes those twig and berries, they get caught under the snow. It's a big snowstorm. But spring is here. You know how in Game of Thrones they said winter's coming? I haven't even got to that point yet. Well, no, I actually have gotten to that point. I'm just starting the third season for the first time. But spring is coming. Spring is coming, and people are going to want to smell your balls again. And Manscaped is here to make them look, smell, and dare I say taste great. I don't know. I've never tasted my balls, but you know what? With Manscaped, I'd give it a shot. My balls, not your balls. There's 3 different products that Manscaped has that you need to check out. 1, the Lawnmower 3.0. This is a part of the perfect package 3.0. And honestly, that's what you should get. Because they already give you, I just went to the website to check it out. They already give you a discount by buying all this stuff together. But the Lawnmower 3.0, it is made specifically so you don't hurt yourself. It's the 3rd generation trimmer, and it features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents. Okay? You know how you don't drink and drive? You know how you don't smoke and drive? Same goes with this. Don't trim your balls if you're sleepy, or don't party and shave your nuts. Get a good night's sleep. Have a cup of coffee or Diet Coke in my case. And trim the balls. But with this, the Lawnmower 3.0, you're not going to hurt them. Also has a light. Look at this. In case you get lost down there. You can always find your way out. Hello, hello. And then, you want to make sure, there's a couple things. You need to make sure that they don't chafe and they don't smell bad. Okay? No, big guys, babies, everyone knows. Chafing, no, let me just put it this way. Let's just take you out of the equation. It's going to hurt your thighs. But let's just imagine you're going to go to that date after the long quarantine, the long winter, and you got beet red monkey thighs. Think any girl's going to want to look at that? No. So you know how you fight the chafing? The crop preserver. Well, it's a ball deodorant. It's anti-chafing. And it's also a moisturizer. You want your balls to be smooth and soft. You don't want them to be like your hands after a long workout, all cracked and hard. Who's going to want to put that anywhere near their face? Not me. Not me and not you. Have respect for your balls. Treat them nicely. But sometimes you have a long day. You have a long week. Maybe your boss made you stay late at work. Maybe you were listening to this podcast and you lost track of time. Uh-oh. Because here's a story. One time on Tinder, a girl and I were talking, and then she said, "Come over now." And I went to take a shower, but in that time, she fell asleep. And then sadly, because I took a shower, it was hard to find parking. I get there, hello, no answer. And my balls were sad that night. You don't want to have sad balls, do you? So, as long as it's not like a garbage down there. But if you got a little bit of a stink, if you got a little bit of a situation, don't get in the shower. I mean, you could, but time is of the essence. So you know what you do? You revive the crops. What's that? Is that a freshly showered man? You know those commercials where the women smell you? Fuck that product. The Reviver, I'm going to wear this on my first date of this year. God, that smells good. I'm going to wear the Crop Reviver, and I will get them to write a review of my ball smell, and I will read it on the air. They will tell you exactly how much they loved the way my balls smell. Has anyone ever said that to you? At best, your balls have been passable. I know we love smelling them. I smell my balls all day. The stinkier, the better. Frankly, I should just be selling my underwear. I shouldn't even be doing this podcast. But my mom and father are still alive, so I cannot sell my underwear on the internet yet. It's coming. But, partners out there, they don't want to smell your stinky balls. They don't think it's great. If you do find somebody who wants to scratch your nuts and smell it and enjoys it as much as we enjoy it, then you should marry that person. But I don't think that person exists. So you're gonna want the preserver, you're gonna want the reviver, and frankly, you're gonna want to get the perfect package because they throw in Manscaped, not they. Give them a name. They have a name. Manscaped gives you 2 free gifts. First, they give you this. Oh, sorry. They give you a free pair of boxer briefs. They're fresh. They're soft. If you're giving them a present. You're giving whoever who's ever gonna be smelling your nuts is getting a great smelling present. Don't wrap it in shitty newspaper. Premium wrapping paper for your balls. And this, the Shed. Bam. Like I said, be an adult, be a man. Put the stuff that makes your balls smell great into a great looking case and stop putting it in a sock and throwing it into your suitcase. Because I know you do it. We all know you do it. I know I do it. So do me a favor. Go to manscaped.com. When you're there, when you check out, put in code Syatt, SYATT. And you know what that's going to do? You know when you go to the grocery store and ding, 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 $1,000, you swipe that card and then it all goes away, 20% goes away? That's what I'm doing for you. 20% off. You get all this stuff. It's called Perfect Package. I'm sorry. I should have been more prepared. I lost it. It's the Perfect Package 3.0. You're going to put that in your cart. And you're going to put in code Syatt. And you're going to get 20% off plus free shipping. Your balls will thank you. Trademark. I will thank you. Trademark. That's not trademark, but I'm going to trademark it. Lee will thank you. Please don't send me a picture of your balls. I've seen way too many balls in my day. More balls than I ever want to see, but have your partner, whether they be male, female, transgender, whatever gender they like. I don't care. If they have balls, or if you have balls, sorry, or even if whoever has balls, they need this stuff. I'm sorry. I'm ad-libbing this, and I was going great until right there, but I'm going to leave it in. If they, just have them tell me how great your balls smell, or you tell me how great someone else's balls smell, and you can thank yourself for it. Because ladies, let me just put it this way. I've had people tell me, go take a shower, your balls stink, and then who wants to no blowjob now? They don't. So maybe your man is stubborn. Maybe you don't want to tell him that his balls stink and you don't want to hurt his feelings. That's very nice of you. Get him the Perfect Package 3.0. Spray these on. When you're touching his balls, he doesn't care. He's not going to hear that. You could do anything up to cutting them off, as long as you don't cut them. Just what is that? Oh, it's sexy lubricant. I don't know. Do yourself a favor. Get your man some good smelling ball crop preserver and reviver. Get it, okay? Go to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping with code Syatt. That's SYATT. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code Syatt. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Okay. See? Shorter than last time, too. This week, on What Was I Thinking, I am super excited. I say that I'm always super excited. But I also got to say, I think I've had some pretty good guests on. I am very excited to introduce you to someone that you probably know. His name is Doon. Rye and I met in Los Angeles over the last couple of years of doing stand-up. We did shows at the Fourth Wall, at the Sycamore Tavern. Rye did shows all over the country in L.A. And I have known Rye from afar for many years. I first saw Rye on an app called Vine, RIP. And he's from Massachusetts. He's very funny. He turned out to be one of the few people who you meet in person later on and is even nicer in person. But he is going through something similar to what I'm going through. He spent many years, had millions of followers on Vine, hundreds of thousands on Instagram. Still has that. Go check him out at Doon. He might not post that much, as you'll find out. He had a podcast, but he found that he wasn't happy. So starting before the pandemic, but even now during the pandemic, what Rye is doing is he is on a new path, and I'm gonna let you tell him about it. Him tell you about it. He's on a path to become a mental health professional, a therapist, and I think it's wonderful. I think a lot of times online, and it's the reason why I started the podcast today the way I did, even though it probably should have been an outro, which my mom says is not a word, but I maintain is a word. One of the nicest compliments that I've gotten on my podcast is that I'm honest, and I try to be upfront with everything, and I'm definitely not a perfect person. I've lied before, and I will probably lie again, but I try to be as honest as I can. And that's not usually the case on the internet. And what I like a lot about the conversation I had with Rye is that he was very honest about his shortcomings, about his struggles, and why he's decided to take a step back from social media and become a therapist, and in his late 30s go to school and start a whole new career. He's still going to do comedy. I saw he just posted on Instagram the other day, so he's still there, but he's going on a new journey, and I couldn't be more excited to introduce you to him. And if you know him already, I'm excited to introduce you to the new Rye Doon. So without further ado, Rye, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
So I quit drinking like 2 years ago, a little under
What?
2 years.
Okay.
So then I realized that I was either drunk or hungover for like 3 years in LA.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And so I forgot, like forgetting people. I like totally forgot meeting a lot of people that I didn't realize until I got sober. And I was like, wait, no, I do know you. I just forget.
Right. I just had no, like, was it tough for you to get sober? Because I'm not much of it. Drinking was never my thing, but especially at like the level of comedy, and you're ahead of me, but we were doing some similar shows at our level of comedy, and even a few years ago, like sometimes you were getting paid in drinks.
Oh yeah, totally.
So was that tough for you, or were you able to just quit cold turkey?
Um, I had tried like quitting on my own, like just saying like I'm not going to drink for a month.
Right.
And that was really hard. I did it once before officially getting sober, but I was smoking every day. I think that helped. Smoking weed.
Okay.
But once I officially, hit my rock bottom, I was done. I was ready. I was ready to check out. And then like being at clubs, it actually wasn't hard to say no. Because I do the thing, as Marin calls it. I do AA. So.
Oh, okay. Do you like that?
I like it. Yeah.
Because like obviously I just said drinking was my thing, but food was, and I actually have a family friend who's at Overeaters Anonymous, which sounds so much lamer than Alcoholics Anonymous.
I know.
But I've actually thought about doing it, and like, what do you? And we aren't going to talk about it at the end because I think it's really interesting. You're going to school to be a therapist, right?
Yeah. I get my master's in clinical psychology, which scares me. It's scary to like go in a different path.
Right. Oh yeah, it's
I
very scary.
I still want to do comedy.
Right. But hey, I mean, y- and we'll get to it because I want to talk about it at the end. But
Okay,
you picked a good time to be in school.
I know, right?
Like
It worked out.
it's almost like 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 it's a sign that you picked the right path, because if you're gonna spend a year like not being able to go out, having to be home, I mean it's better than watching Tiger King. At least you're doing something productive with your
Yeah,
time.
yeah, I know. I got fortunate with the timing. I had been thinking about it for like 2 years, just thinking like it'd be cool to be a therapist, and really thinking about it, looking into schools, talking to my therapist about it, mentioned it
Right.
to mentioned it to some comedians. Like, what would you think of me going to school?
Right.
And one of them, who I look up to, was like, "What? Why would you? Why would you go to school? You're a comedian. You're not a therapist." Like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right.
I'll just live my life based off what you said.
Yeah,
Drinking one night at a club.
yeah,
It's funny because I was doing my research for you coming on, and I knew you had a podcast, and I had a kind of a funny story about that, but I didn't realize that you ended it.
yeah.
And I went and listened to the last episode, and you're like, on the last episode, you're like, I've been thinking about maybe becoming a therapist, and then now it's awesome that you're doing it. But I know we met. I think we probably met. Oh, God, now I do remember. We met at the Sycamore Tavern,
Oh, yeah.
and I think either you asked me to do your show first, or I asked you to do mine, and then we swapped.
Hmm.
And I remember it's so funny when you're producing shows, people get really negative about it if you don't ask them to be on. So when they saw you were on, they thought that I put you on because you put me on yours. Like they're like, "Oh, I see how it is.
Swapping.
Rye gets to be on your show because you're swap." I was like, "No, I think he's funny, and I think it'd be nice to have him." Like
Yeah.
people, it's weird how negative people get. So I
And I think it's okay to do that.
Oh, absolutely, of course it's okay to do that. Of
And
course,
I've told comedians like, yeah, I'm having him on because he's having me on his show. So I've just
right?
been open about it. It's like, fuck that. Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
trying to get stage time here.
and it's also like I think we're similar in not wanting to piss people. Like you seem like a very nice, considerate person, but it's also, and I would always qualify because it was just true. I got to be on a bunch of shows in LA that a normal 1 or 2 year comic wouldn't have got to be on,
Mhm.
but it's also like, okay, the whole point, I had a realization one day that comedy clubs are just bars. That's all they care about is selling drinks.
Right.
Like they're not all, like a lot of the young comics that I meet were like kind of like they're trying to be artistic about it, which is great. They're very funny people,
Yeah.
but they're like, why aren't I not getting all these shows you're getting? I'm doing better than you, and I'm like, well, because you have 6 followers,
Right. Exactly.
and it doesn't matter. Like obviously like they want me to be funny, but they frankly don't care for the most part. As long as I don't actively ruin a show,
Yeah.
like they're
Yeah.
like just like, is he gonna bring 4 people? Cool.
And that's because you're selling some tickets, right?
Right, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I mean, and it was funny. There were times and shows that I never got asked back on because LA is a tough place to sell tickets. And
Yeah, it is.
I was at the Sycamore. I was at the Sycamore. I got lucky and got put on. I'm not even gonna call it opening for Joe Rogan. I got put on a show before Joe Rogan was on the show at the Sycamore, and it was people were climbing up the windows. And then I've done shows there when literally no one but the comic showed up.
Yeah. That's,
Oh,
yeah, that's a lot of shows in LA. And
oh
I've
my
been to
god!
Sycamore shows like that. There
And
was, it's funny. Were you at the Sycamore show or when Bert Kreischer was there? Was it maybe
I
that
think
night?
that was my show.
Oh, that was your show.
At least one of them. I mean, unless he did it a couple times.
Okay. Quick story related in that it happened at Sycamore, but I did probably your show or a show with Bert Kreischer on it.
Okay.
And I did my set earlier in the night, and I was like, that was great. Like, I think I killed. That was
Right.
great. And Bert goes up, and I'm like, oh, I didn't kill.
Oh,
just the level of laughs he got. I was like, oh, I didn't do as good as I thought I did.
It's so humbling
Yeah.
because the I was a very shy. I still am a very shy person, but doing comedy really brought me out of my shell. And then like, I actually stopped gambling. I wasn't losing my house or anything, but I
Mm,
would gamble a little bit, and I comedy had me stop because like the rush I got from being on stage and like getting laughs
mm.
replaced it. But I remember, and it was even less. It was a guy named Jerry Rocha who is a very funny, nice guy, but he's not on the level of Bert. I mean, that's not a mean thing to say. Um, and he was very nice and had me open for him at the Brea Improv. And there were maybe 100, 150 people there, but in a space that fits five, so it looks kind of small.
Totally.
And I did okay. I hosted, and Jerry's been a comedian for 20 plus years, and the level of laughter that he got from those 150 people sounded like it was full, and it was just like, wow. I like, even when I think I'm doing well, I'm barely getting by.
I know, right? How many years have you been doing stand up?
It's so sad. I had just started my third year when COVID hit, and I've done 4 minutes in 13 months. So I'm pretty much stuck at
Yeah,
2.25 years. What about
I hear.
you?
Um, 7 years before COVID,
Wow. And you're still in LA, right?
still in LA. Yep.
What
Yep.
was the thought process behind that? Why are you staying in LA?
Let's see. Well,
Do you like it? If you
school,
like it, that's a very reasonable answer.
I like it. Um, and then school, but school is on Zoom so far.
Right.
And I might have moved home temporarily, but I have a girlfriend here, and I love her.
Right. Yeah. That'll do it. Yeah. That's a very good reason to stay.
And she's from LA. Her family's here. But like,
Okay.
I wasn't going to move home. Like, it was worth it to stay here because
Right.
I see a future with her.
Oh, that's awesome.
Knock
That's
on wood. Cut to
yeah.
3 months from now.
I remember, I don't know if you had just gotten together, but one of the times at the Sycamore, you brought her and you did like jokes about her in front of her, and it was. But then you guys were very like lovey dovey. It's fun. Like it was just nice to see that you were happy because I like one of the internet creeps. I follow you on Instagram, and like and I guess you know what, we'll get to this now, and then we'll talk about Vine stuff later. I I went to therapy a couple years ago for the first time ever in my life, and I actually really enjoyed it. It was nice to like just get the thoughts out of my head, and like sometimes I'd be saying something and realizing that it wasn't as big of a deal just by telling it to somebody.
Yeah.
It was really nice, and I said this to Josh Potter the other day that he's one of the only people, and you're also one of the people that are very open on social media about your mental health issues, which most people aren't.
Right, right.
And I just I thought it was very cool when I saw like that. I didn't even hear it on the pod on your last podcast, but I just thought it was awesome when you said, "Oh, I'm in school studying to be this." So like, what made you make that decision?
It's funny you say that. And even though I've been pretty fucking inactive on social media this past year, that was a choice. I can go into that. But huge thing that made me want to do it was from posting about depression and stuff, posting about my mental health. And the feedback I would get was more fulfilling than people just saying like ha 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 ha. It's more fulfilling than like you're hilarious.
Right.
Those are the nice ones. There's also like fuck you.
Oh yeah. And
um
we'll get to that, but no, that's I want to keep hearing about this. That's awesome.
yeah, like early on in Vine, uh I posted like the first ever serious Vine I ever did, where I was like actually being myself, and it was something like, "Hey, I've had depression and anxiety since I was a kid, so don't feel weird if you do too." Because I knew there was a lot of young people following me.
Right.
And, like I got like emails from like kids' moms saying like I showed this to my nephew and it made him feel great. He has anxiety, and other people would tell me stuff like that. And I was like, it was touching. It was like, whoa, that's amazing. That makes me feel great.
Right.
More so than, you know, having somebody think I'm funny. That feels great too.
It does, and it's also it's a similar. It is a similar thing in a way. Obviously, like I just said, comedy can be a very selfish thing where you're just like, I want to get these laughs because it makes me
Yeah.
feel good. But it also making people laugh is a nice, good thing. You're making them feel better in a different way.
Mhm.
Did and I haven't seen your whole act, but I've seen a lot of it, and I what you don't have a lot, at least to my knowledge, of like shitting on people. Like it's a, like stories or jokes, but it's not like you're not gonna make anyone in the audience feel bad.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
is that an active choice or is that just luck?
Um, I like to make fun of myself. So like I have stories about my family and stuff. I feel like that's just what a lot of comedians do coming up. It's like my father's
Right,
crazy, stuff like that.
right.
And then I just think it's funny to make fun of myself. And I have like shed on audience members if they're heckling.
Oh yeah,
Um,
if they're heckling their open game, that's a different
yeah,
thing.
yeah, but I just haven't had any desire to be the type of comedian that's like fuck, fuck hipsters. Like Bill Burr, I love him. He's my favorite comedian.
Oh yeah, he's great at it.
I just don't do that. I don't have a drive to do that kind of comedy.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
I think it's great.
It is great, but it's also I forget who it was. It doesn't matter. But every time, like with Burr or like Jeselnik, at least in my head, when I'm going to open mics every night, and I see people trying to be them that don't have like this, like like Burr and all these people can say something that might be negative, but do it in a funny way. And a lot of these newer comics, and I'm not saying I'm any better than them, but they'll just basically have 10 minutes of just like hate coming out of their mouth.
Yeah, I know.
And it's like this isn't funny. This is just like this is like I'm worried about our safety from what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah. And don't get me wrong, I have negative thoughts, especially at open mics.
Oh God.
Just sometimes it's just like I don't want to fucking be here. And just like when someone's just super not funny, I'm not thinking like fuck you. I'm just like, oh God, let's
Right.
get through this.
Let's get to this 5 minutes. So, because it's funny. I actually, when I knew I was leaving LA, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I have no medical background, but I feel like I'm a good listener, so I was like, oh, maybe I'll be a therapist, and I looked it up, and I was like, that's a lot of school, and a lot of like post school internship where you're not
Yeah,
gonna make a ton of money.
yeah.
Like, what is the feeling like going back to school in your I think you're in your early 30s, right? Mid 30s?
37, just turned
30s.
37.
Okay. How does that feel?
What, going back to school?
Yeah, like basically starting
Hmm.
over.
Um, it feels good. It's exciting, but it's also scary. Like I just started my fourth quarter, not a semester. My school goes in quarters, so almost over my first year. Excuse me.
Very nice.
um, pardon me. It feels good, but it's definitely daunting.
Right.
Like
And how
I,
long do you have how long is the school process?
the school program is 2 years, and then
Okay.
it's like at least 2 years of internships. Um,
Wow.
and then I take the licensing exam to be a licensed therapist. I'm already fearing that. I'm so bad at tests,
Really?
exams. Like I think I'm gonna fail it the first time. I'm already.
No, no, don't.
I already. I know it's a bad way to think of it, but
No, do you still go to therapy?
mhm. Yep.
I- Is it is going to school like when you're going to therapy and going to school to become a therapist, like are you seeing what they're doing? Like is it reinforcing your decision to go?
It reinforces my decision to go, but so far I don't think I know enough about being like therapy to really start analyzing her.
Okay, you're not gonna be like, hey, I don't think you're doing this right.
Yeah, I'm like, I see what you're doing.
Right.
Um, my girlfriend is in school for the same thing, different school. But
Oh wow.
by the way, the girlfriend you mentioned earlier at the stand-up show,
Right.
we broke up. This is the new one.
No. Okay. Good. Never mind. Then forget her. He loves you more.
Yeah, forget her. You guys looked miserable.
Right. Yeah. Terrible.
Um, but it reinforces my desire to be a therapist because I just think it's super interesting. Also, my therapist thinks I will be a great therapist, and my therapist is fucking awesome. I found her through another comedian, uh, and she's a big reason that made me want to do therapy because it totally turned my life around. I was in a bad place when I started going to therapy. Um, but yeah, it excites me. Since she's such a badass, she has told me like you're going to be a great therapist. Like you have, she told me like you have the pain, you have the darkness, that experience. Uh, she was like you're observant, and then that's all she has so far. But we'll see what
Hey,
comes next.
those are good reasons. Do you want to focus on a specific like problem or group, or is it just general therapy?
I would love to work with comedians. Um,
That's
that
a
is
great idea.
that is super niche. Um, I think I'll just attract that community.
Right.
It's like I'll get one comedian, and hopefully they like me, and they'll tell their friends like this guy knows comedy.
Yeah,
He
this
knows,
guy knows what we're going through. Yeah.
and it's kind of weird because at the same time, I don't want to stop doing stand up. I don't know what I want to merge comedy with therapy. I don't know what that's going to look like yet.
Right.
I have no fucking idea. Maybe I'll be a doctor too, but just not a doctor. Therapy Doon, therapist Doon.
Well, you're a
I don't know.
doctor, aren't you? Or no?
My doctor?
Oh no, I guess if it's a master's degree, you're not a doctor. What?
I, I won't be.
Okay.
I'd have to get my PhD, which I don't think I can handle. That's too much school.
Now that seems like a lot.
Yeah.
And how? Because I enjoyed my therapist, but I only went to one. I never. That was the only time I've ever been. How many therapists did you go through before you found one that you liked?
I went to a couple in high school and then one in college, then didn't go until I was like 35. And I got lucky. I found this woman just my first try in LA. She was awesome. She's pretty harsh, which I kind of like.
Right. It looked like they're telling you the truth.
Yeah. There was one day she was like, if you keep doing what you're doing, your entire life is going to fall apart. And I was like, holy shit. Um, and she said, she has told me, like, you're an alcoholic.
Wow.
I was like, no, I'm not. She's like, you're an alcoholic. And I was like, no, I don't think so. She's like, yes, you are.
Well, hey, I mean, how did that make you feel? Did you fight it or did you agree with her?
I fought it. I wasn't like, fuck you. I was more like, no, I don't want to be. I said, I don't want to be.
Right.
I was like, I love drinking. Um, and then I didn't acknowledge her. I didn't realize I was an alcoholic that day, but like she's in recovery herself. She's a sober person.
Oh, okay.
She has that experience, and the stories I would tell her, I thought I was drinking somewhat normally, but I wasn't. Like I was getting drunk like at least 3 times a week. And apparently normal drinkers will have like 2 drinks. That's considered normal drinking.
And how many would you be having?
I have no interest in having 2 drinks. I'd have like, I don't know, 10 instead of
Wow.
once I got a buzz, I couldn't stop. And
Interesting.
for a long time, I thought I was deciding to have one more drink. Because I'd be like, I'm gonna have one more. Then I'd finish that. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna have another one. And after that, I was like, I'm gonna have another one. I thought I was making that decision when I don't think it was really my choice. I think it was addiction, just being like, you're gonna have another one, aren't you?
Right. Yeah.
It's the same time.
Were you drinking alone or was it mostly out?
Um, it started mostly out. I don't know when I crossed that invisible line into alcoholism, but it got worse once I moved to LA. Actually, I had success. Like I was successful pretty early on into stand up, I started comedy late 2012. 3 months later, Vine came out, and like
Oh wow,
six,
so you were doing stand up then? Okay.
yeah, 6 months after Vine happened, I was making a living from it, and I was like getting recognized and stuff. Then I got a manager and an agent. I moved to LA. Shit was happening really quick, and I celebrated a lot. I went to the Comedy Store, drank like Brian Redman embraced me. He didn't make me drink at all, but I,
Right now, yeah, yeah. We're not blaming him for it.
I was just immediately welcomed at the Comedy Store, and I was like, "Holy shit! Like, this is the dream!" Like, I have comedian friends at the Comedy Store, and I go to the Comedy Store, and I say hi to people. I'm not getting stage time, but
Right.
I'm hanging out.
Were you happy at that point, or were you fighting demons?
No, I was really happy. I was really happy for a while. Uh,
Okay.
then I slowly started to hate doing social media. That that became unenjoyable probably like close to a year into it. Just like the
Wow.
just like the constant pressure that in large part I put on myself. Just like I got to post something, got to post a good video. What are my friends doing? Oh shit, they got a lot of followers yesterday. Why? What did they post? Shit, I need followers. And like it was like chasing a dragon. Like if I posted a video and it did well and it was like blowing up, I had a huge sense of relief. Like I can not post for like 3 days now because that video will get me followers. I can take a 3 day break.
Wow. And
And
that's wild.
so
And go
yeah,
ahead. Sorry.
uh,
Hey,
I was happy, but so I celebrated a lot. So I drank a lot because I love drinking, and I would never like throw up or like make a fool of myself. I did that a little bit later on, making a fool of myself.
right.
And I had money, so I'd like just book a flight to New York, do stand up there because I was able to sell tickets. I could perform at the stand, mainly the stand, New York Comedy Club, and just other bar shows. I'd get a hotel for like 5 days. That's so much money.
I
Uh,
know.
go to buy people drinks. Just like fuck it, I have money. Are you poor? I'm not. I'll buy you a drink. And just becoming more of an alcoholic. So like my dreams were coming true, and at the same time, I was destroying them.
Wow. That's how long did it take you to realize? Like in the moment, did you realize you were in trouble, or only looking back now?
Only looking back now, I started realizing it when brand deals slowed down. Oh, also Vine got deleted, like or Vine got shut down.
Right.
So
So yeah,
that was
let
tough.
let's talk about that for a minute because I remember. So when did you said Vine came out in 2012?
Came out 2013,
2013.
beginning of 2013.
And I remember, God, that was I was I guess 2 years in LA, and I was depressed working. I was working nights as an assistant editor on stupid reality TV shows,
Mm-hmm.
and I found this app, and like I remember. Like at first, I was like, I don't really get it, but then like little by little, like it was just you would spend all day just going up, up, up,
Yeah, yeah, I know.
and I connect. Like it's weird to say, but like whenever I see someone from Boston, I just connect with them, and it I've I my life really didn't change with Joey on the church. It was if I was in a comedy club or occasionally out in LA, someone would say, "Hey Lee," and it felt great. But
Yeah.
I lived in the same apartment. I drove the same car. For the most part, I had the same life I had when I was editing TV. But what was it like? Because if I'm remembering correctly, were you a nurse?
I was taking that I take prerequisites I avoided in college in preparation to go to nursing school.
Okay, I was close. So, and you had started comedy.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first video that like really took off?
Um, there was one in particular. Well, there's different levels of taking off. The first video I got 100 likes, um, was very early on, and I was like, holy shit,
Right.
people are watching this. What? Um, and people would started tweeting me like, I love your vines. And I'm like, holy shit, I've I have some fans. This is a fucking dream come true. Then I had one Vine that really blew up. It was in the first year of Vine. Um, it was one where I just had this bit in mind where I would go to strangers and say, "Do you want to dance with me?"
That's what I saw.
Okay, yeah, yeah. And I just thought it'd be funny. I just thought no one will say yes. They'd all be awkward. And
Right.
that's, I'm like, why won't anyone dance with me? I was uh, assuming no one would say, yeah, let's dance. And one day I found this homeless dude lying on a bench and he looked interesting. So I went up to him and was like, do you want to dance with me? And then he was just like, what? And I was like, all right, just say, I'm going to make a video, say, go fuck yourself. So I was like, do you want to dance with me? And then he said, go and fuck yourself. And I flipped it around. Why won't anyone dance with me? Then he improvised, because I want to fuck you. I
Oh
was like,
wow.
oh. I was like, that's weird. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense, but it's weird. I'll post it. And then I checked like just 5 minutes later, I had 1,000 likes. I was like, whoa, that's good.
Wow.
Then I got a bunch of likes, bunch of views. And like for the next 3 days, I was refreshing my like how many followers I had. I was getting like several followers per second, pretty much.
Wow.
That freaked me out actually.
And it's funny because like, and maybe you're different. Maybe you're not as introverted as I am, but for someone who has like the anxiety and stuff, was it hard for you to like go and because to me it sounds like scary to go up to just random people and like and not everyone would feel comfortable doing that. Was that easy for you?
It wasn't easy. It was scary. I got a huge adrenaline rush. Um, but I was I had momentum on Vine, and I was competitive with the other people on Vine, and I treated it like a job. So I was like, "Fuck it, I have work to do, so I'm just gonna go do this." And I was fueled by ego in large part. Just like I want to fucking kill it on Vine today. I want to get a shitload of views. Uh, so I just kind of power through that fear and like if it came out well, I got a huge adrenaline rush. Um, a lot of it, I'd walk around Boston, and sometimes I'd walk around like for 5 hours and get nothing worth posting.
Wow.
Sometimes, like half of my vines that hopefully look real are actually staged with strangers. I was always open
Wow.
about that. um, but there was one time I was in Central Square in Cambridge. I went to which is like I think I was wearing a wig in my Alex character, and I just videotape. I filmed this homeless guy, and I maybe said like, "You're beautiful." And after I do that, I typically say like, "Hey, I just filmed you, or making a vine. Is that okay?" And normally, most of the time, people are like, "Yeah, don't worry about it," or like, "Yeah, that's funny, whatever." But this guy, he was pissed, and he like started yelling at me immediately, and I was like, "Sorry." He's like, "I'll delete it." It's like I deleted it right there. I wish I didn't.
Right.
I wish I just didn't respect him at all. Uh, and then he started walking after me. He was like shit faced. So I just kind of like sped walked away, and I was like, "Whoa, that didn't go very well." A few minutes later, I looked behind me, and he cut up to me, and he had his like liquor bottle like ready to smash it over my head. He
Dang.
was he was far away, so he started early with his backswing.
Thank God.
So I saw that. I just jogged away a little bit. That was the most like in danger that I ever came. But yeah, that I felt bad. Like I could pretty much just like fuck with that guy, and he was not in the mood for it.
Right.
Um,
Well, I mean, but there's also it's weird the evolution of online content because I mean your stuff was goofy
yeah,
and it was never malicious. There's people now who just go and like basically fuck with people
yeah,
like didn't someone just die? A prank person within the last year? I'm almost positive some
I don't know.
YouTuber guy who was a prank person got like shot or stabbed
Oh
because
shit,
they
really?
did a yeah. Let me. You know what? I'm gonna Google it just because I want to. I think I'm right. YouTube prank. Yep. YouTube prank leaves man dead. A 20-year-old man was shot dead, allegedly taking a prank robbery filmed for YouTube. Timothy Wilkes in Nashville, and it was in February.
Oh shit.
I knew I heard that. But it's
I,
also it's like I'm not obviously I don't want anyone to die, but
yeah,
it's also
that's gonna happen. I
yeah,
assume that would happen one day.
yeah. It's just people have no sense of boundaries. So, but so you started it started taking off, and you were in Boston. How did the move to LA happen?
Uh, well, I guess it first started. I did a trip to LA to collab, as the kids say, to collab with some other Viners. And then I tweeted. Bert Kreischer followed me on Twitter. That was a huge day for me. I tweeted him one day in health class. It was like, hey, thanks for you followed me on Vine. I love your stuff. And he quote tweeted it like they used to do. And he was like, you're
Right.
hilarious. I was like, holy shit. Bert thinks I'm hilarious. I remember I went to an open mic that night, like so high. And then I bombed miserably at the open mic. And I was
Of
like, all
course.
right. But visited LA, DM'd Bert saying, hey, I'm in LA. I'd love to be on your podcast. So he had me on his
Oh
podcast.
wow.
And then Bert, during the this was early on his podcast. Bert was like, you need a manager. I was like, I don't know how to get a manager. Then he called his manager on the podcast. He called his manager.
I love when he does stuff like that.
And he was like, you got to check out Doon. Then I did this matinee comedy show with other Viners at the Improv on that same trip. It was like 2 p.m. all ages.
Oh boy.
Because that was our audience. It was like 14-year-olds. Did stand up and one of my characters on stage. And then afterwards, this guy comes up to me. He's like, hey, dude, I'm Bert Kreischer's manager. He was like, great stuff. We should get lunch. He didn't.
Very LA. That's
I'm
awesome.
paraphrasing, but yeah, it was such a Hollywood moment.
Right.
Holy shit. He gave me his card and everything. Reg Tigerman.
Is
we
he
are
still
no
your
longer
manager? Oh, okay.
we're no longer together.
that that's crazy. So and is that when you decided to move to LA when you got the manager?
Yeah, I got the manager and they're all like, you need to move to LA. And I was like, all right. And I was with a long-term girlfriend then. So it's like, I need some time to like see if my girlfriend wants to do this. We were together for like 9 years at that time. So
Wow.
yeah. 6 months after that, I moved to LA with her. And yeah, that's how I got to LA. I just got a manager. They were just like, you got to come out here.
And I remember just from being a fan of Vine, it went from like videos that people would record on their phone to like fully produced
Yeah.
videos pretty quickly. But and I'm not gonna say you didn't do any of that because it was I don't remember fully, but I felt like yours kind of stayed in a similar, like you never went too crazy with like the pre-produced stuff. Was like, did you look down upon people doing like, or like it just seemed like the whole point of Vine was to be a little bit more spontaneous and
Yeah.
just use the phone.
At first, I hated that Vine allowed editing
Right.
because that was the whole like difficult part of Vine. It's like you got to be funny within 6 seconds, and that's it. Only
Right.
the funny or creative will prevail. And then they allowed editing, and I thought it was lame. I was like, they takes the fun out of, or takes like the specialness out of Vine. And then I didn't fully get into it in large part because I didn't have the editing skills.
Okay, that's a good reason.
That's a big reason why I even tried out Vine. Says like you didn't have to have any skills of editing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was mainly because I just didn't think of ideas that involved a lot of editing, and also I just didn't have the skills.
Okay. Well, I appreciated just like and I didn't know that some of it was staged, but that doesn't, to me, it doesn't matter. You still have to be funny and come up with a funny idea. But
Yeah,
I think it's funny how industries will pop up around other people's stuff. So like when obviously you got the manager, and but that was it sounds like maybe it was more comedy based. How like when did you start making money with Vine?
Probably like 6 months in, accrued enough followers to where basically I could sell ad space pretty
Right.
much. Um, this Viner called Jerome Jar, French dude. He linked up with Gary V. You know Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah, my brother was his trainer, funnily enough.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my brother was his trainer for like 4 years.
Oh, nice. So yeah, Gary V started this company called Media,
Mm-hmm.
and he invited a bunch of Viners to his office in New York, and he sat us down. And he was like, "You're all going to be making a living off of Vine in the next 6 months."
Wow.
And I don't know anything about business, so I was like, "What? How the fuck is that going to happen?" And he was right. We all started making a living. And he hooked us up with some brands. Uh, I think Virgin, T-Mobile. Is that even a company still?
T-Mobile is, but I think Virgin,
They're
at
not
least
part
their airplanes are gone.
of
Everything
there.
else might still be there.
I did a T-Mobile brand deal with on Vine. That was the first one I got. That was through Gary V, his company.
Wow.
And that's how it started. I just and they're and just and then brands became aware that you could do these 6 second commercials and get millions of views.
Right.
So it worked. I don't know how much shit we sold, but a lot of people were seeing these branded vines.
Right. And did you even like really not that you didn't understand it, but it seems like if it happened in 6 months, that's very quick. Did like looking back,
Yeah.
did you really grasp how big you got and how quick you got there?
I knew it happened quickly. Um,
But like, could you grasp that like millions of people were watching your stuff?
Good question. I think so. I think I was maybe like old enough to grasp it. Like I could see the numbers. I I never thought like, yeah, this is normal. I was never like,
Okay.
I was never like, this should be happening.
Right. Right.
I always
That's
thought it was bizarre and like crazy. Like, wow, I can't believe this. But I knew people were watching it.
and it's interesting because a lot of people talk to me about starting their podcast and they don't have any following.
Yeah.
And it's really, I don't want to say impossible, but it's very hard without a following to kind of blow up.
Oh yeah.
And you were part of something that I don't think you had any following before. You just were
No.
on the right app, and you made funny content and people just started finding you.
I was on the right up at the right time. Like I was early on Vine. I heard about Vine on Joe Rogan podcast.
Oh wow, okay.
Brian Redband mentioned it for like 3 seconds. This was early on Rogan days, 2012
Okay.
or 2013. Redband mentioned it for a few seconds. He was like, Will Sasso's making these vines. And I think Redband said, like, doesn't it make you like want to be the best at it in the world? Brian can't say world. So he said, in the world.
Oh, okay.
And Joe was like, no. And then I thought like, I'll check out this Vine thing, see what Will Sasso's up to. So yeah, I owe my career to Brian Redband, my career and my alcoholism to Brian Redband.
Me too. Not my alcoholism, but
Yeah,
I said this. I've said this multiple times. He really is the reason why podcasting, especially comedy podcasting, exists. Obviously, it's Rogan's show, and he's a big driving force behind it. But especially for like on the producer co-host side, he's one of the first, if not the first.
yeah, yeah, definitely one of the first.
And he doesn't get enough. I don't think he gets enough credit.
He doesn't.
He gets a lot of shit. I think because he's a goofy dude. He's in his late 40s and he just likes to be silly,
Yeah.
which like it's weird. And I guess what we can get to is like when Vine started becoming less fun, or social media started becoming less fun, because I can't imagine the level of hate Red Band or you got, but it's taxing. Like it
Yeah.
really does, especially if you have mental health issues.
Yeah.
Like I don't think people really understand what they're doing to people.
I don't think so either. Yeah, and sometimes I think people do. I think people do just want to be mean.
That's
Um,
true.
when I first started getting hate comments, I actually took it as a badge of honor. I was like, holy shit,
Oh
I,
wow.
I have enough people watching to where some of them hate me. This is
Right.
amazing. I'd listen to podcasts. I would listen to like Bobby Kelly's podcasts or comedians' podcasts talking about how like they'd get mean tweets. And I'd be like, wow, imagine like being relevant enough to have people hate you in comedy.
Right. I guess that's a good way to look at it. For me, I've gotten better at it, but I still I got shit recently because I decided to turn comments off on Instagram. I just
I saw
didn't
that.
I just really I was too happy about the positive ones and
Mm-hmm.
too upset about the negative ones, but actually this is how much of a loser I am. I noticed that my likes started going down, and I was like, I
Yeah.
wonder if it's because I turned off comments. And so I recently turned them back on because I want people to like my stuff again. But
Mm-hmm.
like I guess I don't really need to know like specific ones, but just like there's an email I got that I'll never forget, and I was going to Toronto with Steve Simone to do a podcast seminar, and he was doing shows, and I got one that it said the email was like this one dude just kept sending me emails, or it might have been a girl with fake email addresses. So and the one line and it was, I hope someone blows your brains into the Atlantic. And I was just like,
Jesus.
wow, that's for someone who's high on the internet. That's a very strong feeling. Like it.
Yeah.
You mentioned that social media stopped becoming fun. Was it because of the hate, or was it just the whole, like you said, chasing the dragon?
It was partially the hate, and like, don't get me wrong, it gets to me. Um, before I answered that question, just recently I was in New Hampshire visiting my sister. Now I've been pretty inactive on social media because it gives me so much anxiety,
Right.
and I'm not willing to put in the work anymore. Like the money started drying up, and I was like, why am I doing this? It makes me miserable, and I don't make any money.
Right.
Why
Yeah.
am I doing this? But yeah, I was in New Hampshire, and I was like, let's see what's going on my page. Like I haven't looked in like 3 weeks. Like, let's see if this. I actually went damage control. I was like, let's see if I have to delete any comments. And I checked my latest video, and one of the comments was like, "Damn, dude, you fell off." And that like it was like, ah, fuck. Then one below that was like, one below was like something like, "Fuck you." I think it was just like, "Fuck you." And then I started just it affected my night. It made like for like a couple hours. I had I had anxiety. Started thinking like, "Fuck, I need to post more." It just like fucking kind of like it didn't ruin my night, but it took up mental bandwidth and emotional space.
Yeah, and meanwhile you're bettering yourself. You're going to school to get a master's degree and then to help people. And it's and it's also it's tough. I try not to talk about it too much because at the beginning of podcasting, I thought it sort of became hack because everyone started talking about like who leaves angry comments on, and like like everyone sort of said that. So I
Yeah.
tried to avoid it, but I know what I got with 70,000 people on Instagram, which to me is 69,000 more than I probably should have ever had in my life. But like at your highest, how many followers did you have? Whether it was Vine, Twitter, Instagram, like what were you up to?
On Vine, it was 4 million, maybe 4.1 or like 3.9. I honestly
Wow.
forget. But yeah. And yeah, there were some people who really I annoyed the fuck out of them. That was actually part of my intention was like early on in Vine, I wanted to stick in people's heads. So I did this recurring video. It was like, it's a beautiful day. Like,
Right, right, right.
that's annoying. And I was aware that that's annoying. and I wanted people to think of me whenever they thought like, oh, it's a beautiful day. I wanted them to be like, fucking right in.
Right. Hey, it's smart.
Yeah.
It definitely. I remember that, and and I just yeah. I think that's so. What was it like for you when Vine ended? Like, why did that affect you so much?
Um, well, when it was announced at first, I think I was like, I don't know if it would actually be technically denial, but I was like, it's fine. Like I was already, I was making most of my brand deals, mostly Instagram. It'd be like 3 Instagrams and a Vine. So I was like,
Oh,
all right,
okay.
I'll keep getting the Instagram stuff. I'm fine. Um, and so there's that. But I did kind of panic. I was like, holy shit. It's like, there goes my audience. And I was
Right.
like, fuck, I didn't transfer my followers over to Instagram. And I really didn't. Like, that was looked down upon in the Vine community. Like, I, I had too much dignity. It's a
Okay.
really silly word. Is that the right word? I had too much honor or too much pride to be like, follow me on Instagram. I was like, people don't want to see that. I'm not
Right.
gonna see that shit.
They don't.
But I fucking should have.
It's you should have, but it's also I don't know. I'm not a big believer in. I'm not like a religious person, but I do, and I don't know if I believe that everything happens for a reason, but I do believe that things tend to work out in a
Mhm.
way. So yeah, I mean, even though you could have done that and maybe transferred it over and maybe kept the social media stuff going, if it actively made you that unhappy,
Yeah,
maybe it's good that you didn't.
I know, right? Yeah. And I agree. I don't really think everything happens for a reason, but I do strongly believe that you can turn a bad thing into something good, even if it remains like that was a terrible experience. You
Right.
can, it can like become something good. Like, like I became an alcoholic and I had some terrible times. That sucked. And I still think that that sucked. But having gone through that, I can now help people who are going through that.
Right.
I mean, like, and even with you and your podcast, Joey moved to New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you weren't like, this is great.
It's weird. It's weird that you brought that up because obviously it would have been great. I miss Joey. I'm not making I didn't in my head at 32 almost 33 I didn't plan on living in my parents' spare bedroom at this age. I thought I'd have a house, a family, and my mom won't let me pay for groceries right now. She's like, no, and it's not because she's nice, but it's also because she's like, I don't think he has any money. Um,
Yeah.
and it's, but it's also funny. And Joey told me this even before I knew he was leaving, or he knew he was leaving. That be careful with how people treat you in L.A. because they think because he went through it with Rogan. They think that if they're nice to you, that they're gonna get to me.
Uh-huh.
And it's funny. I almost kind of wish I had stayed in LA just a little bit to see the show invites dry up. But when Vine ended and like when you started doing less on social media, did people stop calling? Did like was it did people sort of abandon you or have people stuck by you?
Um, Good question. I have a core group of friends that I made most of my vines with. Some of them have completely left my life, which I actually had a hard time dealing with at first.
Yeah.
Um, I thought like, holy shit, they weren't my real friends, and I like had some difficulty with that, and I felt stupid for not realizing it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'm an East Coast boy. I didn't know that these LA people were mean.
Right, I know, and they seem so nice. They always smile and they give you
Yeah,
hugs.
yeah.
But it, yeah, they just. I have people right now who every time I saw them would give me hugs, and oh, let's do stuff together, let's do shows, and then now I text them to be on my podcast, and they just don't respond. Like it's
Really?
just like
Yeah.
they actively don't respond. I'm like, okay, I get it.
So
It is what
yeah,
it is.
that sucks.
Yeah, it
So,
does.
um, what hurt? Well, that hurt a lot, but I got over that. I was like, all right, whatever. They're not real friends.
Right.
And also, people are busy. It
Yeah.
was we fed off each other. Like they'd be in my videos, they'd be seen by my audience, I'd be in theirs. Now those audiences are gone. They're doing their own thing. I thought we would still hang out. I still do hang out with a core group, but there were a
Mm-hmm.
few people that I don't see anymore. And I wanted to, and I tried to. And then I realized what was happening.
Right.
But what hurt more was seeing my ticket sales dwindle. I was like, fuck, I'm losing it. I'm losing my relevance. And I hate that word. I hate the word relevant in this industry. Uh,
Well, I hate it too, but it's also
it's a thing. It's legit,
yeah
but people use it in social media. I've heard a lot of people be like, no, he's irrelevant. Not about me necessarily, but just it became like a dirty word. Like,
about someone else.
yo, they're irrelevant. What are you doing?
But I'm right now. I'm in a place where I'm trying to figure out really what I want to do. I and I'm not mad or blaming Joey at all, but there's just so much of me being high on the internet that I don't. I thought about going to grad school, and I was like, I don't think people would hire me to be a therapist.
Sure, they would.
Who maybe they would. Who knows? I've applied to a bunch of jobs and got a zero response. But I think it's smart, and it shows like you're doing the right thing, because this like the entertainment industry. I'm not even gonna say LA. Like the entertainment industry is just all they care about. Like it's like what I said earlier about how comedy clubs are bars. They
Yeah,
don't care what's funny. They just want to sell drinks.
yeah,
If you're not gonna sell T-Mobile subscriptions, then they don't care. Like it's not that they actively dislike you, but they're just like, oh, I don't need them now.
right,
So
exactly.
you're getting to something. You're starting something that is going to be is necessary. Like you're going to be actively helping people, and you'll actually be judged on your skills as a therapist.
Mhm.
And
Well,
I just think that's great.
thanks, man. I appreciate that. It means a lot coming from a comedian. I've had quite a bit of anxiety, like thinking, like, what are comedians going to think about this? They're going to be like, dude, you're giving up, dude. Come on, no, don't, or maybe not like, please don't. The world needs your art. Not like that.
Right. Well,
Like,
it's
oh, you're
also
giving up.
people. Everyone has an opinion, and then it's also like my mom came out to LA every year, and the last time she came out before I moved home, she like we were having lunch one day, and she looked at me. She said, "Like, is there anyone out here that you actually trust?" And I was
Hmm.
like, "Very few, if any. Like there's everyone's always gonna disappoint you or tell people something they said they wouldn't say anybody." And I know like it's so weird how like the way you said, oh, I didn't want to transfer my followers from Vine to Instagram. I I wanted to do well in comedy, A, so I could get laughs, but B, so people, other comics would respect me, not just think,
Oh,
oh, he's getting this because of he's on Joey's show.
yeah,
But when you step back and look at it, it's like these people are living in studio apartments, racking up hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt because they feel like they have to have a Mercedes or whatever to
oh yeah,
look cool. And it's like, even just because you're a comic, it doesn't mean I have to respect you. Like I can respect you as a comedian,
Mhm.
but a lot of them are just awful people. Like a lot of them are just like terrible, terrible people.
Yeah. It's funny from this pandemic, or because of this pandemic. I was actually trying to think of a joke about this, but I've realized that I don't have a lot of friends.
Yeah, it's
and
tough as an adult anyways, but yeah.
and I think that's normal. Like as an adult, you don't like to have like 3 friends. Like that's pretty normal. I do have like 3 friends. I have a big group of like group of 6 guys back home. We're super tight. We have been for a long time.
That's awesome.
But I've been trying to view my comedy friends. It's kind of like work friends. Like if
Mm-hmm.
you leave a job, you're not really going to see those people anymore. Even though you might have gone to happy hour with them, they're going to drift away from your life. That's kind of like with comedians. Like I'm pretty socially awkward. I get socially anxious.
Me too. Oh yeah.
I'm not comfortable like being close with people. uh, so I would very rarely call a comedian or even text a comedian and be like, "Hey, want to hang out?" I would
Right.
just go to comedy clubs and hang out.
Oh, absolutely. I had a realization once because I was in like I was painfully awkward and anxious in high school and middle school, and I was like, all my friends were going at like, oh, not even friends. I had a couple very close friends, but I wasn't the kind of guy to go to a party every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, like go out drinking. And I realized I was like, why is no one calling me to hang out? And then I was like, oh wait, I'm not calling anybody
Yeah.
to hang
Oh,
out either.
I haven't. Right during this pandemic, I haven't hit anybody up.
Yeah. There's just something comfortable. I don't know if you're the same way, but I just feel I get comfortable, or I've gotten comfortable being by myself. It's at a
Yeah,
point where it's, I mean, maybe it's bad, but I almost kind of prefer it.
I'm a loner for sure. I'm
Oh
an
yeah.
introvert. Like um, like being at comedy clubs, it's mostly fun, but it's draining to me. Like I go home like I need a break.
Yeah. I
And
I was never good at like Joey used to get mad at me. Oh, you should be out till 4 in the morning every night going
yeah,
out to eat, and I would do that every once in a while. But there'll be a lot of times at like 11:30 midnight after doing 2 or 3 mics. I was like, they'll
oh
be
yeah,
like, Lee, you want to come eat? And I'd be like, not really. I'd rather go home and
totally.
turn on Frasier and eat some candy. Like I just want to be alone right now.
That is what I want. Like when I first moved to LA, I was super into hanging out, and I was like, this is what I need to do. I need to be at the comedy store until 3 a.m. Like, and I would several nights a week, in large part because Red Band embraced me. So like he introduced me to a bunch of people. It was like I quickly made friends,
Right.
friends in quotes.
Right, exactly. Friends who you can do something for. Yeah. Hey, put me one of your vines. Yeah, I mean,
Not even that, just friends. We're friends at the comedy store.
okay, got it.
There's a lot of good comedians at the store who,
Yeah.
when I see them again, we'll hug and it'll be great. But what am I saying? Oh yeah, I did a lot of that, drinking until 3 a.m. I didn't realize I didn't have to drink.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You could have had a Diet Coke and still been there.
Yeah, but man, like I hear you. Go to like 3 mics at the fourth wall. It's like 10 p.m. I want to fucking go home. I wanted to go home earlier.
Yeah, yeah. I'm here just so I can not feel like an asshole for not doing a mic today,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't do it because my thing was food. There were many nights where, and my depression. I feel like I was depressed. I had down periods. I never got suicidal or anything, but there would be days where I'd spend almost all my day like in my bedroom in the dark, like maybe doing a little bit of work, but a lot of times just taking naps or something. And I would go to the fourth wall just because it was right next to a 7-Eleven and I could get candy afterwards. That was like honestly, the only reason I did it a lot towards the end.
That sounds like depression. Oh,
Oh, it is, but it's tough. I don't know if you do this at all. I judge it's like that half baked thing where he's like, oh, I'm addicted to weed, and everyone's like, I suck dick for crack. It's like
yeah.
I gauge it against others, and I try to like downplay mine, and I'm like, oh, mine isn't that bad. Other
Right.
people are suicidal. It's like, no, I can be depressed too, but it's like,
Yeah.
so how has I know you've been busy with school, but I've actually really enjoyed taking some time off from stand up. I'm not gonna lie, at the end of it, I wasn't going as much. I wasn't taking it as seriously,
Hmm.
and I actually do feel like a big urge. I'm excited to actually do stand up again.
Me too.
How do you feel about it?
The same way. I'd actually taken 2 months off of stand up right before the pandemic.
Wow.
I still did my two monthly shows at the Improv.
Okay.
Uh, but I was taking 2 months off to see what it felt like, to see if I missed it. And also, like, I was pretty newly sober. I was scared to socialize. I was scared to go out and like be like, "Hey, what's up, guys?" Because like drinking made me feel so much more comfortable.
Right.
I took 2 months off to see if what it felt like. It felt good, but also weird. It's like I should be going to the clubs. I got to be hanging out. Then the pandemic hit, and no one was going to the clubs, and I felt fine.
Right.
I've been enjoying, or I had been enjoying, everything being shut down.
Yeah.
Nice. And I've heard Marin talk about it on his podcast. There hasn't been any competition because no one's doing anything. So he's been able to relax.
Right.
Nothing.
It's not even a relaxing thing for me, and you've been a lot busier than I have because you've been in school. And I was trying to write a joke, and I tried it out of my mom because she's the only one, my only audience member right now, and I have to figure it out because obviously, 500,000 people died in this country. A lot of people lost their livelihoods. But as the introvert loner, I've kind of enjoyed, like, oh, I couldn't hang out even if I wanted to.
Yeah.
Oh no, I have to be at home again today. It's like I haven't. It hasn't affected me as much. I don't want to say I've enjoyed it, but I kind of have.
So have I.
At least finally someone else can to agree with, like no judgment, like, oh, you know, people die. Like, yeah, but I've enjoyed, not like I used to hate, like, you come from Boston. I hated the tea when everyone was touching. I don't like being touched. I don't like loud bars, and I like the 6 foot distance. I like people leaving me alone.
Yeah, I gotta say, 5 million people. Was it 5 million people?
500,000. 5 million people would be a lot. 500,000 in America,
Right.
at least right now.
5 million would be too much, but 500,000 people dying has been the best thing that's ever happened to me.
That's awesome. I think that's
just kidding.
That's definitely the way to end the podcast. That's right. You were always super nice to me. Always a great person to hang out with. Very funny. And I normally ask if you have anything to promote, but it seems I don't know if you do or even want to, or if you're just focusing on school right now.
I have nothing, and it actually that gives me anxiety. I'm like, I would love to have a podcast,
right?
Just to like still show up in people's heads,
right?
But I don't. I got nothing. Leave me a hate comment on Instagram. I got.
I mean, and I could, if you don't like the idea, I'll cut it out. But I don't remember the name, but isn't there like a mental health podcast that a comedian does, and I know you don't want to copy somebody, but I think it would be interesting to, like, from your perspective as a student, like, maybe you could talk to comedians about their mental health.
I want to. Are you thinking of the mental illness happy hour?
Maybe. I think that's probably right.
Paul Gilmartin. Then Joe List has a Mindful Metal Jacket.
Right. Okay.
I'm buddies with Paul. I've been on his podcast. He's been on mine. And yeah, I plan on doing something like that.
Okay. That's awesome.
Right now, podcasting is more work than I thought it would be.
It is.
Booking guests, that's the hardest part.
It's the word. And I was going to I'll bring it up quickly because, like I said at the beginning, I was doing research. I didn't realize you had ended your podcast.
Yeah.
And you opened it up, and you and Brandon, your co-host, were just like, yeah, we kind of just got sick of doing this. It's been 3 years. And I really understood it because a lot of the pressure wasn't on me with the church. Joey would tell me when to show up, and I was on call, and I feel like I contributed what I was supposed to. I don't feel like I failed or anything, but Joey booked most of the guests.
Mm-hmm.
It was Joey's show, but in the last, I guess, 5 months of doing this, the amount of pressure to have a guest, have the guests not completely flake. Like when,
Yeah.
you said sorry at the beginning because we started a little bit later than we were supposed to. I've
Yeah.
had guests who I'm basically doing a favor to have you on, like just completely be like, oh, I forgot about it. Maybe we can reschedule. I'm like, oh yeah, we'll reschedule, and I'm just never gonna reach out to them again.
Yeah. Totally.
But getting a guest is tough. The guest has to be good, and then I guess it's similar to what you were doing with Vine. It's like if you put out an episode and you were getting X amount of downloads, and then you get a third of that, or it doesn't get to where you want it to get to, it creates anxiety. So it's like, why am I doing?
Totally.
Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
For
In my podcast, we still had listeners. It went down, but it wasn't like this dream come true. But it wasn't like no one was listening. It's kind of just I started to not like who I was in the podcast
really?
because I like got sober and like kind of changed. And I was really used to be really crude in the podcast, and then I
Oh, okay.
became a little bit sensitive to that, being sober and not numbed. I was like, I'm kind of being a fucking asshole. I don't like
I can't imagine. I'm gonna have to listen to some of your old episodes, and I can't imagine you being an asshole. But
yeah, I don't think I was an asshole, but crude, just like being gross, like
okay.
disgust, like literally, like talking about my balls.
Well, A, people grow, and B, because a lot of people ask how Joey and I are now, and honestly, I tell everybody this. I think we have a better relationship now
Yeah,
than we did in LA, because A, the work's out of it, and like we can just be friends. But I said this to him because we still talk 4 or 5 times a week, and I
nice.
said like I'm glad we went out like Barry Sanders as opposed to like Adrian Peterson, or he's still pretty good, but it's like
Right.
it's nice to end, and not that we were the number one podcast, but it's nice to end and not like see yourself starting to do shittier and
Yeah.
shittier, and no one wants, and then people don't care when you leave.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Like it's like, and now I'm doing this, Joey's doing his thing, and for you, yeah, maybe that podcast with Brandon, even like maybe it was fun while you guys did it, and I don't know if you guys are still close or not, and it doesn't matter, but you're growing, and it almost, especially with podcasts, you really have to be very open. It's almost like an audio journal.
Yeah.
Like, that's the way I view it.
Yep.
And if that one didn't fit, I think like it's good that you took some time off, and like you'll, even if you don't do the mental health one, whatever you do next will hopefully be something that you enjoy, because
Yeah.
it is a grind. So if you're gonna be doing it, you might as well enjoy what you're doing.
It is a grind. That's why I haven't started a new one because I'm in school, like thinking like editing, uploading, booking a guest. So I thought like I just want to have a guest. Like I'm not good enough to just have me.
Right.
I'm not Bill Burr.
I did like 10 of those, and it's A, that's tough, and B, it's like, and I don't know what your financial situation is, but even if you're a millionaire, it's a lot of money to like hire somebody to do all that stuff. It's a lot of money to throw away.
Is that what you do?
Essentially.
You
No,
hire
I
an
do,
actor?
I do all my stuff. I'm happy because, and this I'll just tell everybody honestly, last month I only lost $400. I'm doing great. I only lost 400 last month. But I don't know. I to me, I kind of enjoy the editing process, but
Okay.
when I can afford it, maybe I will try to get my own Lee, and I'll tell him to kick that mule and all that stuff. But it, especially when you still have a year of work, and then you have a lot of work ahead of you. So
Yeah.
if you don't feel like you have the time right now, don't just do it to do it.
I need to be in a situation where I've pitched it to Brandon and our buddy Vincent, Brandon, my former co-host and our friend. I was like, let's start a podcast. I will facilitate the ads because I'm in touch with like the last person who got us ads.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do that, and you guys do everything else. You do the editing, booking. I will just show up and talk, and then that's it.
And they didn't like that.
They didn't like it. They just don't want to do it.
They're like, so we do most of the work. Okay, yeah, no thanks.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Well, Ron, I'm really happy. Like, I guess the last question I'll have is, are you happy now? Like, are you enjoying where you are now?
Yeah, I am. Um, Generally speaking, yeah, I'm happy and I'm excited for the future. And I'm open to not knowing what's going to happen because you never fucking know. That's one being 37, I'm super old and wise. I'm just kidding, but I have it has really sunk into me that like you don't know what's going to happen in life. So I just like kind of like let go and be like, let's see what happens. So that helps me be happy. Granted, I still go through depression. I past few months, like I went through like several months this past quarter of school. Thankfully, it wasn't that demanding because I was in and out of depression for 3 months, and it was bad. So it still happens, but other than depression happening, I'm a happy person, which is weird to say because I
How are you doing now? Are you okay now?
currently I'm good. Yeah, no depression right now. Yeah, I'm good. I think the pandemic coming to a close actually helps with that.
Yeah.
I would like to have life be more normal. I'm vaccinated. That gave me a boost of joy.
Oh, nice. I have a month left of I'm half.
Oh, nice. I found a loophole. Don't. I'm sorry, everybody.
Oh, I did too. It's the only time I've ever been happy to be overweight.
Oh, that's right.
It's been great. I like to joke around with people in public. I'm much better at small talk than I'm in like actual conversations with people. And I
Mm,
noticed in the line because we had to do it at Gillette Stadium, or I did it at Gillette Stadium,
cool.
and it was a bunch of like 50s people, 50-year-olds, but then a whole bunch of chubby dudes like me. I wanted to tell them like this is great, right? Like, aren't you glad you didn't lose weight? But I felt like they might not have enjoyed thought that was as funny as I did.
Right, right.
Um,
Yeah, I volunteered at a vaccination site, and
oh,
I got a shot that day. And then I tried signing up more. I was like, I'm available. They just never called me back in. My
oh,
girlfriend got called back in several times.
well,
So
good for you then. You got your did one nice deed and then got your vaccinated. That's awesome.
exactly. Yeah.
That is awesome. Well, Rye, I really do appreciate it. I'm gonna let you take a nap or so. You've been working all day, so I'm gonna let you enjoy the little bit of freedom you have. Is that Ralph in the back? Your
Yeah, it's
cat?
my cat.
Uh,
Is this gonna be video? You could posting video?
yeah, oh yeah.
It's well, she's gone now, but now everyone knows the studio apartment.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with a studio
I'm a
apartment.
failure.
No, you're open about it. You're at least you're not telling everybody, hey, I live in Beverly Hills and I have a
Yeah.
mansion. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong. I'm in literally the twin bed I slept in as a child. So
Nice.
so I'm looking forward to one day being able to afford a studio apartment.
So you've returned to jerking off in the same place you discovered masturbation.
Oh yeah, if this mattress could tell tales, this mattress would me to me in a second. I've done terrible things to this bed.
That's hot.
It really isn't. It's sad. Thank you very much, Mr. Rye Doon, for coming on the podcast this week. It was great to talk to you again. He's a wonderful, wonderful person, very honest, very genuine, down to earth. He had millions of followers on Vine and one of the biggest social media stars ever, and is a normal, great person. And I know he's going to make a wonderful therapist. He has, I think he said, a year left of school, and there's some internship work. So it's going to be a while, but I know when he does finish and is practicing, the world is going to be a better place because he's a therapist in it. And I will undoubtedly need therapy. And Rye, if you take my insurance, I would love to come and talk to you and tell you what makes me sad. Um, Thank you all very much for watching and listening this week and every week, whenever you listen. I know you, I sound like Southwest. I know you have other podcasts to choose from, and I appreciate you choosing Lee Syatt Podcast Network content. I really should, I should make a network, of just myself. I'll have meetings and everything. But thank you genuinely for watching and listening, for supporting. Um, don't forget, there is a waistline coming out tomorrow, Tuesday, April 13th. If it's after that date, please go check out the Waistline podcast. Obese to Beast, Mr. John Glod is on the episode. We have an episode with Shane Wally. I have an episode with a dietitian coming up. I have episodes with 2 contestants on The Biggest Loser. I have listener call-ins that I spent last week recording about 10 of those. It was awesome. So please go check out the Waistline podcast. And also, please support our sponsor, Manscaped. Manscaped has a special great deal for you. When you go to manscaped.com and you use code Syatt, SYATT at checkout, you're going to get 20% off plus free shipping. That's right, that's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and use code Syatt, SYATT. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Thank you all very much for watching and listening. Thank you all for your continued support and love. And I will be back next week with a new What Was I Thinking? Adios, and have a great week, everybody.